at least times in Sue's rebuttal, she used the word probably. Let's bring some reality to the word probably. I live in El Macero. She has said El Macero probably will opt out. Bill Dendy, who was the executive director of the State Water Resources Control Board, nobody in the state knows more about water than Bill does, has looked at what it would cost to put in an irrigation-only water system for El Macero. Now, El Macero already owns its well. If you've ever driven along Mace Boulevard, there is a big well right on the east side of Mace, and El Macero actually owns that well. So we won't have any cost for drilling a new well. Bill has gotten estimates that under the auspices of the county services area for El Macero, so these numbers are part of the public record, that the cost of putting in just the purple piping to get the water to the houses in El Macero is between $8 and $12 million. The debt service on a 20-year borrowing at 5% on $12 million is $963,000 a year. Right now, the supply charge for 2015 is $550,000. This is a question to all of you. Would you be willing to have water that is worse for your plants for $963,000 a year, or better water that is better for your plants for $550,000 a year? It's a pretty simple decision that the El Macero residents are facing. They hope there are people who want to think that their bill can go down, but the realities of the capital costs of putting the piping in the ground are huge. Village Homes doesn't have to face that issue because they have a common area. They're not talking about irrigating the backyards of every house. They're doing the common area. The amount of water in the total that Village Homes common area is, pardon the pun, a drop in the bucket. The reality is Sue is wrong. We did not apply a universal elasticity factor. We took the irrigation-only customers and the Tier 3 residential use, and we assumed that 40% of their consumption would go away over the period of time. Now that's a lot of customers, and some of whom are going to conserve less than 10%. Some of whom may go away, 100% may go away. But you end up in a situation where 40% is built into the rates that's assumed. The reality is that because 2011 was a dry year, it's really closer to 50% based on what we have used in 2012 and 2013. Those are built in. The people who were in Tier 2 and in multifamily assumed 20% consumption, and the people who were already conserving and using very little water in Tier 1 and the commercial establishments that don't do much irrigation were expected to do no more than 5%. In total, it was a 22% blended conservation. That's built into the rates. So unless we end up conserving down to 122 gallons per person per day, we will be fine. Right now, we are using 165 gallons per person per day. So imagine that you're using 165 gallons in your personal life. Do you think you could get down to 122? Most of us cannot. Let's talk about the environmental aspect. Right now, we have 26 wells in the system, 20 of which are deep aquifer, 26 of which are deep aquifer, 20 are intermediate aquifer. All of those 20 are scheduled to go out of service because they do not comply with the wastewater discharge. If we have 1 or 2 irrigation wells, we will still be going from 20 down to 1 or 2 or maybe 3. The impact on the environment of going from 20 intermediate wells to 3 intermediate wells is self-explanatory.